Alright, in this problem I'm going to do division with decimals using hangman style. I like hangman style because it's more similar to what I see students doing when they don't know that they're supposed to be dividing. They just do a whole bunch of multiplication until they get the right answer. So sometimes that can be kind of tricky if you need your answer to be in decimal form. So we're going to do 31.48 divided by 4.8, or 31 and 48 hundredths divided by 4 and 8 tenths. So always first number in the house. Okay, now the very first step is just to get the decimal out of the way. It just makes it easier to do the math problem. So we're going to move it once. This number is what determines how many times you move the decimal. So you're just moving it to the end of the number, and since that was only one time, you're just going to move this one time. You don't necessarily move both of these numbers, both of the decimals in these numbers to the end of the number. You just do it however many times this number needs it to move to get to the end. So one here, one here. And if you notice, that decimal is not at the end of this number. It's going to go right there. Okay, so here's my hangman style. Okay, so now I have 48 into 3,148. So with hangman style, we're estimating how many times it's going to go in there, and then we just keep going until we reach a number that is less than 48. Now, I know, let's erase this, that I always ask you guys to round to the nearest hundredth, which is the second number after the decimal. And so what you should do, I should have remembered this before reading that line, is make your number that you're dividing into have 3 numbers after the decimal. That way you don't have to add any zeros except for right now. Okay, so now the one thing about hangman style is you have this giant number usually here, especially with the decimals, because I always tell you to add the zeros so that you have 3 numbers after the decimal. So you do have this giant number here and this tiny number here, which is kind of tricky to figure out how many times it goes into this guy. Now, 48 has 2 digits, right? And I can multiply it by 10 or 100 or 1,000. And it's easy to multiply those numbers because it's just a 1 multiplied by 48, and then you add however many zeros. So I'm going to see which one of these I can multiply, which is the biggest one. So if I multiplied it by 1,000, I would have 48,000. And let's see, I would have a 0, a 0, a 0, and then the 8, and then the 4. So I'm going to multiply it by 1,000. So 0, 0, 0, and then 8, and then 4. I'm going to write 1,000 here so I remember that I multiplied it by 1,000. So now I have, okay, 48 times 1,000, that's this right here, and I'm going to subtract it to see how many more times it can go into this big guy by subtracting, just like you do with the regular division, the way you are used to doing it. So 8 minus 0, and then 4 minus 8, can't do 4 minus 8. 0, it turns into a 14. 14 minus 8 is 6. And make that a 10 by taking from this guy. So that's a 6, and then that's a 2. Wow, we still have a big, big number. I wonder, since I know that I could definitely multiply it by 1,000 again, because I would just end up with 48,000 right here, and then I probably end up with, you know, another 100,000 or so. So maybe if I multiplied it by 5,000, might be too much. Maybe I'll try 3,000. So that's also nice because I could just do 48 times 3, and then if it's 3,000, I can just add the zeros after. So 3 times 8 is 24. I'm not doing this expanded form style, but you could. But since it's just one number, I don't think I want to. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 2 is 14. So then if I was multiplying it by 3,000, I would add these zeros. So that's cool. Now I'm kind of getting a little farther. So that was multiplied by 3,000. Alright, now I'm going to subtract. So I've got 48 times 1,000, 48 times 3,000. So this number goes into this number at least 4,000 times, and even more because we're going to have some left over still. Oh, I love it when I don't have to regroup. Okay, yeah. Okay, so look at that. That is not quite as big as this one. So I know it can't get in, excuse me, I know it can't go in another 3,000 times because this number is 3,000 times 48. So I'll try 2,000. 48 times 2. 8 times 2 is 16. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9, and then I'm multiplying it by 2,000, so 1, 2, 3. Ooh, getting there. Getting there. Another reason I like this method is because you don't have to be exact most of the time, because we're just, usually you're going to estimate a number that's smaller, so you can just keep going until you have less than 48, which is nice. 0, 0, 8, and then I got to regroup, so I can't do 2 minus 6 or 2 minus 9, so I have to take from the 1 over here. And that 1 goes to here, and then I need to regroup for over here, so this is going to be an 11, and that's going to be a 12. So 12 minus 6, 6, 11 minus 9 is 2, and then 0. Minus 0 is 0. Okay, you're getting close. So now I'm going to look over here, 48,000. So now I know I can't even multiply it by 1,000 anymore. I'll multiply it by 500 probably, because this is really a little bit more than half of that. So 48 times 500, I'm just multiply 48 times 5. These are all being multiplied. 8 times 5 is 40. And then 5 times 4 is 20, plus 4 is 24, and so since it was multiplied by 500, okay, ooh, we're really getting close now. Okay, so this was 500 times 48. Subtract. Ooh, now I only have 2,800, 2,800. So I think I'm going to multiply by 50. Because then I would just have 1 less 0 here. I don't even have to do the math anymore. So if I multiply by 50, I'm going to get 1 less 0, 2,400. Just remember I'm subtracting on all of these. Minus 2,400 gives me 400. Ooh! Now I know 40 times 10 would be 400. So then I know that's not going to go in 10 times. I'm going to try 5. Ooh, and I don't have to do the math anymore, because 48 times 5 is 240. Ooh, maybe I could do more than 5. maybe I can do 7. Oops, it's multiplying. 7 times 8 is 56. 7 times 4 is 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. 336. Oh my, we're getting closer. 336. Regroup this, turn that into a 10. We still got to give that to something. So there, 10 minus 6 is 4, 9 minus 3 is 6, and so 64. This was a 7. It can go in only one more time. Alright, No, 1 times 48 is 48. This turns into a 5. This becomes a 14. 14 minus 8 is 6. And now we're left with 16. So we're done with this division part. And now, since 48 went in 1,000 times, and then it went in 3,000 more, 2,000 more, and then 500, then 50, then 7, then 1, then that means it went in this many times. So we add all of those together. So I'm just going to, so this 1,000, I'm going to add all the thousands first, plus 3,000, plus 2,000 is 1, 2, 3 zeros, 4, 5, 6,000. Added that, and then I have 557 and 1. I'm going to add all of those together. So they're all different place values. Like this is in hundreds, this is tens, and those are both ones, so you have to make sure you're lining them up properly. So 8, 5, 5, and 6. So this is our number. Now, what you got to remember, because we are working with decimals, and we do have a decimal right here, this is where your answer goes. You are going to start you're going to line up your ones first. So this 8 is going to line up with that last number, which is this 0, and this is in the ones place. So that's where your 8 goes. You're always going to line them up with the ones, in the ones place first. 5, now there's 3 numbers after the decimal, so I'm going to have one more 5 behind the decimal, and then I have 6. So the answer is 6.558, and I always ask you to round to the nearest hundredth. So here's my little approximately sign. 6.558 is approximately 6.56, because this 8 right here, when you're rounding to the nearest hundredth, that's this number, right? So you want this to be your last number in your problem. So that means you're just look at that number and the one next to it. And is 58 closer to 60, or is it closer to 50? It's closer to 60. So you write 6. You can even write 60 if that's easier to remember. So your answer is 6.56. And that makes sense, because it's basically 31 divided by 4, but it's really closer to 5. So, yeah, and 30 divided by 5 is 6. So that makes sense. Yay! That was long. Woo! Not really that long. Okay, bye.